Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Advocate Footy Wrap for week 2, the NWFL season underway last week. TSL season also underway. Cam Whiteley, our esteemed sports editor, back in the chair after Jordan and I just kept things rolling along nicely last week, I thought. Cam, nice to have you back, mate.
Good to be back. You guys blew out the cobwebs a little bit last week, but nevertheless, good show. But this week we've got plenty to get through. We have. Let's talk about special guest appearances.
Yes.
Former AFL players. We've actually got a special guest this week as well, and we've got a shout out to one of our biggest fans, mate. So we've got plenty to get into. So how about we just get started?
We've got pumped up footy this week too. Well done.
Rightio. This week on the show we're joined by Ulverston Football Club player Jade Hughes. Welcome, Jade.
Thank you.
Tough start to the season last week with a big loss to Wynyard, who you also lost to in the grand final last year, obviously. But there is some positives, I suppose, given that there's some players that come back in. So just run us through that.
Yeah, Wynyard are obviously a very quality side, and they are very disciplined with the way they play, and they really showed us up last week. Certainly identified some areas that we need to get better at, which we're hopeful we can do. We're certainly building towards the end of the year, so much as not having our best game plan and best side in place as yet. Hopefully we can improve on that result.
And I watched the game last week, Joe. There looked to be a nasty knee injury to young Jacob Campbell. Got stretchered off there in I think it was the second term. He looked in a lot of pain. Is he done for the season? What's the report on young Jacob?
I'm glad you asked, Brad, because quite interestingly, Jacob's gone off with a sore leg on the stretcher, but his broken leg as such has healed in time for him to play this week. So Jacob won't miss a week after going off on the stretcher, which is good news for us.
Good work, Jacob.
And Jade, how's it been under new coach Justin Rodman this year? Obviously taking over from Justin Hayes. How's he sort of fit into things, and how's he been with the group?
Yeah, Junior's a very good coach. He's a very clear message. We stick to certain things that we want to get better at, and he's got a very good relationship with the players and very good balance between, I guess, banter and the serious side. We certainly know when we need to be on task and when we can have a bit of a joke, so that certainly suits our club nicely. And
coming up this week against Burnie, now obviously a new team into the competition. Do you know much about Burnie? Bit hard to plan for a team that's only one game old.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure of many of the Burnie players. We'll go in completely unknown, but I guess it's nice to play against some different teams for a bit of a change with the new 8-team structure. So that'll be interesting. We'll just go in and do what we can as best we can to hopefully get a good result.
Sort of work it out on the run of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, for sure.
One of the big stories this week, boys, has been the announcement that Jude Bolton is going to play a game for East Devonport, which I think is fantastic for a team that has been struggling for quite some time. Great for the younger players, and it's a bit of a theme this year, isn't it? And as it was last year, I mean, we've got Penguin bringing Stephen Miller and Lenny Hayes down, and Cameron Cloak has already played one game, and he's going to play 2 games for Burnie in the TSL. So, Jade, what do you think about guest players and that sort of thing coming in for the one-off appearances? Do you think it's pretty good for the game on the coast?
Yeah, I think anything that brings a bit of interest to the game, gets crowd numbers up, and from the sounds things are going quite positive over at East at the moment. So for them to have another, player to come down and create some interest in the club can only be positive.
Carly, do you think it's a game that they're playing against Smithton on July 4? Do you think that's a game that they can really try and pencil in to win? Because they didn't win it all last year.
I certainly think when the planning was for Jude to come down, I think they looked at the roster and said, right, okay, we probably don't want to play against a Wynyard or a Ulverston or Latrobe, maybe where a loss is more likely, but I think penciling one of those games where they're a real chance, I can see a really good crowd turn up to Girlston Park and hopefully cheering on a Swannies win after the game.
I think it's also good because the game is actually meant to be a bye that weekend, so credit to Smithton and also the league for sort of thinking outside the box.
Standalone fixture.
Making it happen, because it should attract a pretty good crowd down there, I would have thought. Yeah. And in other games this weekend, NWFL, we've got Devonport up against Penguin, East and Wynyard, and also Smithton and Latrobe. So do you think they're pretty clear-cut results, Coley?
I certainly think Wynyard will account for East Devonport. I think Latrobe should account for Smithton, even though it's up there at Smithton. Devonport Penguin's the hard one, I think, of the round. Like Burnie, Devonport are a bit hard to get a read on at the moment as to what they're going to do. Penguin they were pretty good against Smithton last week, but I think this will give a good indication of where Devonport's at as a team, whether they're a finals contender or whether they're going to be off the pace a bit this year. So yeah, really looking forward to that game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Devonport and Penguin is just the swing game. If you in your tipping and that sort of thing, I've got no idea who to pick. I think I went with Devonport. Jade, what do you think? It's going to be a pretty close game.
Yeah, we play Devonport and Penguin in the following week, so it'll be interesting for us, but my thoughts are that Penguin have a very even, strong side, so I think they might just get over the line.
Right, moving along to TSL now, Cameron, and another good week of games this week in the TSL. I think it looks to be a really good roster this year, I think, in the TSL. We'll start off at Devonport, where the Magpies, coming off a loss against Burnie, take on the improved Tigers.
Tigers. Where are the Tigers from, Cole?
TSL, I'm sorry, but that's the worst team name in all of Australian sport. Give them somewhere. Make them represent somewhere geographically. Apparently they represent the Kingborough region. So
just call them the Kingborough Tigers.
I don't know why I couldn't have done it. Anyway, I think the Tigers are certainly improved this year. Only lost by 4 goals last week to Hobart City, so they're certainly on the way up. I think after a pretty ordinary first year, which was to be expected. But Devonport, I don't know. With Mitch Thorpe now just missing, I still think they've got enough in the tank. What do you think?
50-50 game.
50-50.
I think maybe just the home ground advantage will see Devonport across the line. Good early against Burnie, but really fell away. Mitch Thorpe, big loss. I think they got enough there to cover it. I think they'll just win by a couple of kicks. I'll
probably lean towards 30-35 points. I think they'll bounce back. I think they played pretty well at home, as it showed last year. The other big game for the Northwest is at Aurora Stadium. Burnie taking on the reigning premiers North Launceston now. Obviously, Burnie be still stinging that they missed the finals last year. This is a chance to get a really big scalp early in the season, really announce themselves that they're a genuine finals contender this year. Yeah, well,
Burnie and North Launceston last year at least, they seemed to match up really well. And I remember Burnie had a really bad start to the year last year, but then they went to Aurora Stadium, really touched the Northern Bombers up. I was there and saw. Okay. So should be a really interesting game. Personnel-wise, Burnie, much the same really, maybe a little bit of a tweaked game style with new coach Proctor on board, but yeah, another one of those games you're just really hard to pick a winner.
Yeah, I'll be parochial. I think I'll tip Burnie this week. I think the signs were good last week against Denver. I think they're set to have a really big year, Burnie. I wasn't quite sure at the start of the season, but I think from what they've produced in the round one, I think they're set for a big year, the Dockers.
Speaking of parochial, we'll get to that just in a minute, Coley, but there is some other TSL games. Western Storm and Launceston is another one of those games, and there's just, as you said, a really even roster. This year, the games could go either way. Yeah,
I think I tipped the Western Storm. Just I think Lonnie has certainly improved. I think they got Sonny Whiting back this year. He's going to kick a lot of goals from up forward. So I think the Western Storm. Lauderdale playing Clarence, Eastern Shore Derby. It's always a bit of a spicy match.
Now, first 15 minutes, if you had any money in your sports bet account, you'd almost clear it out on the fact there's going to be a bit of biff early on in that game. So especially Cameron Thurley going down there now and helping out with Lauderdale, so adds a bit more spice to it. But
Clarence were ordinary last week against Glenorchy. I think I tipped Lauderdale. I think Lauderdale might get the chocolates in this one.
I think they will.
And the final game, Glenorchy versus Hobart City Demons. Glenorchy very impressive last week, just demolishing Clarence. Hobart City not quite as much, just a 4-goal win against the Tigers. I think Glenorchy, I underestimated Glenorchy at the start of the year. I don't think I even had him in the finals. They look to be up and about early on.
Well, they've got some quality players, don't they? Jay Bowden and those sort of guys, and even without Cornelius,
they're still kicking enough goals though.
But they've still got enough firepower up there. So I think they're going to be right up there this year. Well, Coley, just a little special segment today, a mini segment. From time to time we get what we call fan mail, for want of a better word. I'm not sure that they're fans, but anyway, we get some correspondence from time to time from he or she calls themselves the Southerner. And Coley, recently you've copped the brunt of it.
Yes, I copped the letter this year after South Hobart Sandy Bay won the statewide 2020 cricket grand final against Devonport. He sent us a quick letter just to congratulate South Hobart Sandy Bay on winning both the men and women's competitions. Slight factual error there, the Southerner. The North Hobart won the women's competition. But he's gone on to how South dominate and all this sort of stuff. Well, the South is the centre for cricket, so I would have said the South Hobart Sandy Bay were $1.10 favourite going into the match. And just gives us a bit of advice on how to cover sports stories, of a Tasmanian nature.
Yeah, what has he got in there? Something about us being to blame for the parochialism?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
He's
He's quoted Lee Matthews and Kevin Sheedy in the letter. Just pumped up Jack Hale's tyres a bit. I think we've done a pretty good job pumping up Jack's tyres. Caused us and our sports reporters and sports reporters past of just feeding the parochialism in Tasmanian sport and Tasmanian life in general, and we're basically the cause of it. I think last year he sent a card to you blokes.
Yeah, I've got a card here.
Yeah.
It's to do with the Bernie Dockers missing the TSL finals. Now, personally, really don't mind if the Dockers make the finals or not.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they did.
Yeah.
But just from memory though, can you remember how many Hobart teams were in the TSL Grand Final last year?
I don't think there was any.
No, I think it was a North Launceston team, and I think it was a Western Storm team. I'm led to believe they're from Launceston too. So maybe the Southern might just have to wait till get Southern success. They haven't won a grand final, the Southern TSL clubs, for a while. Must be grating on him a bit personally.
Yeah, but I suppose being a Northwest regional newspaper, heaven forbid, reporting on issues and news regarding that region. I would have thought that if that's parochial, then I guess we're guilty, aren't we?
Oh well, guilty as charged. Lock me up and throw away the key. But we look forward to a bit more fan mail from him towards the end of the year. And if the Southern team wins the TSL Grand Final this year, good luck to them. I don't think they probably will, but good luck to them. And Southern, we look forward to your fan mail, going forward in future years, mate.
Coley, I think we're done for this week.
I think we are.
We've had a bit of fun.
We have.
It's been good. Next week we'll be back, and good call, bad call. It's going to be back.
Debuts next week. All three of us back too, I think.
I can't wait. Jordan's going to be back. We're all going to be here, so don't miss it.